Welcome to the Intuitive Warrior Challenge. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, intuition. But before we get started, guys, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on how to attend these calls with me, how to best integrate it, and a little bit about what you can expect. We have a range of different people on these calls. There's some familiar faces. Some of the people are doing other types of coaching programs with myself or with one of the facilitators. So welcome back for those people. And anyone who's new, obviously I'm Amir Zogi. Welcome. Good to meet you for the first time live on Zoom. I appreciate you joining the call. So let's get started. Look, a couple of other things that I want to cover. The best way to attend these sessions is to imagine that we're actually sitting in the same room. All right. Sometimes when it's on Zoom, you kind of discount it a little bit and you do other things like walk around. You know, you got your full meal there, having dinner or having a glass of red, Zoe, or a beer. You know, it's pretend. Imagine we're sitting in a room and we're running a conference together. Okay, if you know, at the most you might have your cup of coffee or cup of tea, fill it because you're from London. So you know, just that's fine. You know, you might be nibbling on some nuts. I'm all good with that. Yeah. So look, guys, we are going to be spending the week together. This is the Intuitive Warrior Challenge is a week challenge. I'm crammed a lot into that 1 week. I don't want to overwhelm everybody, so please make sure you stay up to date. I'm going to be doing a session live, or those who are watching the recording, you're going to get the recording every day. Okay, there's going to be something going on every day. I know that's a big ask, right? But let me tell you something. What I've got to share with you, if I could give this. If I could give one ability, one tool, one skill, let's call it, that will completely transform your life, it would be this. This is the most powerful thing that you can integrate and use in your life. The power of using your intuition and the power of following the feeling. Guys, this is all I've used. I don't have a background of, I don't have a degree, I haven't studied anything. All right, some of you are now like logging out. Oh, he doesn't have a degree. He doesn't have but in all seriousness, what I share is powerful. I've got hundreds of hours of content, of coaching content that people from all around the world access. And all these hundreds of hours of content, as I have used my intuition and I have used my feeling, I have followed my feeling in my ability to be able to bring this content out. My whole life, my whole reality, the one thing I've used is my intuition and following the feeling. Now, I'm distinguishing these as two different things, and I'll explain that a little bit later, right? Because you have your intuition, and then there's the ability to follow the feeling. If I could give you one thing that will completely, one ability, you may call it a tool, that's fine, a tool, one technique, one hack, whatever you want to call it, that will completely transform your life. It would be the ability to use your intuition effectively and the ability to be able to follow the feeling. Yet, the most difficult thing that I could teach someone to use is the ability to follow their intuition and the ability to follow their feeling. This is the most difficult thing you can teach someone, right? But I'll say that you are in safe hands, because something that if I was given one ability, right, one strength, something that I found myself, I don't know, born with, if you like, was the ability to take something that is almost you can't even describe it. Like you can't talk about the truth, for example, but my ability to dissect it and share it with people in a digestible manner, that's my strength. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing over the next 5 days. I will be sharing with you some content just to help you have an awareness of the intuition. Some of you are familiar with intuition already. You're like, I've been using my intuition for years. Me too. Like I didn't know how I was using my intuition. I just knew, like I would just follow it. My mum from a young age always taught me, man, no matter what, just follow your heart. Doesn't matter if someone's bribing you, follow your heart. Doesn't matter if there's millions or billions of dollars thrown at you. Follow your heart even if you're giving up the millions and billions. I say billions because when she told me this when I was a kid, millions was a big deal, but millions is not a big deal anymore. It's all billions. So I added the billions. It's just the way I've been raised. Always follow your heart. So I had this ability to use my intuition, always, but I didn't know how I was using my intuition. My awareness was limited, right? So I couldn't necessarily talk about it or teach it until I expanded my awareness of the work. And by expanding the awareness, I'm talking about expanding my awareness of who I am. It's the work of the self-realization, self-actualization. That has put me in a position to be able to share with people how I'm following my intuition. But let me tell you a little bit about about my life and what it looks like in being able to follow my intuition. Everything, my entire reality is around using my intuition and following the feeling. I met my wife by using my intuition. Okay, I remember one day getting an invitation. I was single and traveling around the world. I was speaking just to give you a picture of where I was in my life. I was speaking in a different city around the world. Happy to be single. I didn't have the time to be in a steady relationship because I was in a different city every single weekend, and I was very fulfilled in that role. And one day I just sat down and went, I'm ready to settle down, right? And again, it's realizing that I'm ready to settle down, right? So this is how this happened for me, right? I had an invitation that got sent to me from a very good friend of mine who was having his wedding in Hawaii. He's from Australia, but he was having his wedding in Hawaii. Sent me his invitation, and I RSVP'd and put 2 people. Right? I'm using my intuition. I'm using my feeling here, right? And this can't be woo-woo. Okay? My biggest thing for you guys right now, as I take you down on this journey for the next 5 days, is to ensure it doesn't become woo-woo fluffy, right? Oh, well, it can't be a wishy-washy thing. And I'll explain this a bit later, but it's not for me. It's like I RSVP'd for 2 people. I get a phone call from my friend, mate, what 2 people? You don't have a girlfriend, right? And I said, yeah, I know I don't, but in 4 months when your wedding is, I will have someone. I'll be bringing with me. He goes, mate, look, it's a special wedding. I don't really want you to bring one of your girls that you're having a relationship with, right? I go, no. I will be bringing my life partner, someone I'm settling down with. He's like, come on, Zagi. I go, hey, there's an option to RSVP for 2. I RSVP 2 because I know that's what's going to happen. So I RSVP for 2. 4 months later, my now wife, which I met only a couple months before that wedding, I took to Hawaii. In fact, I took her around the world. And we did it around the world, and we ended up in Hawaii. So we went to Italy, Paris, Spain, everywhere. I missed out on London, Philip. So I guess it wasn't exactly around the world. But, when we went around the world, got a round the world ticket for the both of us, and we ended up in Hawaii. And that became my wife. And now we have 2 children. Right? My businesses, right, have all been following a feeling. Right? I haven't done a business because it's a good idea. I've done a business because there was a feeling to do it. Some of my businesses were not a good idea. It's like, well, this is not a good idea, but I feel to do it. Right? What has that given me? Completely joy, fulfillment. Has the business continued to work? Yep. Even though it wasn't a good idea. Does it still continue to give me joy and that fulfillment? Yes, it continues to. My whole business, my hiring people, firing people, products, this product right now, what I'm doing to you right now, what I'm sharing with you right now is intuitively. It's a great ability to have, and just please understand, anyone has the ability to use their intuition. You were born with this. It's innate, right? It's not like, oh well, I'm a male and I think it's a woman thing that they follow their intuition. No, everyone. But what I'm going to do this today is I'm going to cover the 3 reasons why people struggle to follow their intuition. Okay, and my intention there is to break some of that up. And over this week, rather than teach you how to use your intuition, because you really can't, and now you're thinking, oh, well, why did I come here? I wanted to strengthen using my intuition. No, we're going to break down the things that are getting in the way of you using your intuition. How can you teach something that is innate? You were born with. It's yours. It's your natural essence. It's like the present moment. There's so many courses teaching you how to be present. Whether it's a meditation course, mindfulness course, a course about the now, the present moment, which are all very powerful. Don't get me wrong. But what people don't understand is that the present moment is innate. It's who you are. Right? Most people are trying to do things in order to be present. What I do with people is I get them to undo the things they are doing to become present, or undo the things they are doing they think they need to do. Because if you undo all the things that you think you need to do, the person that you need to be, the things that you need to accomplish, if you undo that, you'll fall back into the now. It's who you are. Your soul, your energy lives in the now. What you continuously do is take yourself out of the now by thinking of all the things that you need to do, that you need to accomplish, that, blah, blah, blah. Because and I can go down that tangent, because you're comparing your life with someone else's, and your brother or your sister or someone on social media, and you think, I should have this by now. Well, what did they do? Well, they were doing this. Well, I need to do that. I won't go down that tangent because that's another thing. But I'm just giving you that example, right? I say to people, it's much easier to be in the now, to be present, than the amount of work that you're doing, the amount of effort that is required to not be in the present moment. Now because most people are like, not for me, I have to work and remind myself of being in the present moment. This is opposite. So that is the same as intuition. It's easier. Why do you, and I'm sure you've all got reference points of using your intuition. I'm sure you've all got reference points of your life when you've used your intuition and you found yourself in a flow state. What's a flow state? When you're in the flow, where things become effortless, rather than effortful. It's almost like you're not doing it, you're not saying it, you're not dancing it, you're not speaking it, you're not singing it. It's like there's another part of you that's coming through you. It's almost like you're channeling it. You know what I'm talking about, right? Why is it effortless? It's easier to be yourself than the effort that you're putting in trying to be the person that you think you need to be so that you can gain people's acceptance and appreciation and approval and recognition. Isn't it easier to be yourself? Yes. I'm just using these as reference points. Well, let me tell you, it's easier to be in the now. Now, I know you've been conditioned to be somewhere else, conditioned to continuously reference to the past and reference to the future and forget about the now. I know you've been conditioned that way, but what I'm saying is true. It's easier to be in the now. Well, it's easier to follow your intuition than the work that you're putting in to not follow it. So, my friends, this week is about not teaching you how to use your intuition, but talking about why and what is in the way of you using your intuition and your ability to follow your feeling. Your ability to follow the feeling is one of the most difficult things that most people can do. And I'll explain that. I'll just leave that as a cliffhanger there, okay? If that's okay, because that's the way it came out, right? I'm going to explain everything to you guys. Okay. So what I'd like to do is talk to you just very briefly about the 3 biggest reasons why people can't follow their intuition, why people take themselves out of the now. Is that all right? Can we do that first? Right? I do want to go around and meet everyone. We're going to do that a little bit later on. Okay? But let's get started with this. Okay? Number 1 reason, too much noise. And I'm not talking about noise outside. I'm talking about the noise that you have in here about what's going on outside. Because you could be sitting in New York, Zoe, hustle bustle of New York, and there's police cars, woo woo, sirens. You know, I love the sounds of New York, right? That's the sound of New York, like just sirens blaring. But you could just sit here, you could sit there and just be in complete emptiness or complete presence. Or you could be, all this noise outside. No, it's your perception of the noise. It's your reaction to the noise. Right? So the number 1 reason why people can't follow their intuition is too much noise. Too much noise in here. Now, and like I said, the noise in here could be about what's going on outside. It could be also about your own self-reflection. But those own self-reflections are not true. There's just your internal dialogue that's going on, because those self-reflection about yourself, that's not real. That is, those thoughts, that's not who you are. Let's when I say it's not real, well, it's real, but that voice is not who you are. Okay? Anytime in your life where you're experiencing effortfulness, and by effortfulness, I mean your soul is getting squashed, right? When I say effortless, it doesn't mean it's easy. Something could be very difficult, but you're getting joy out of it. You could be climbing Mount Everest. Hey, there's risk involved, there's danger involved, and there's a lot of physical effort, but your soul is experiencing this effortlessness. Because why? Because it's what you felt to do. Anytime your soul is feeling squashed, restricted, that's when it becomes effortful. Right? That's the noise. The second reason why people can't follow their intuition is they don't have enough space. And by space, I'm not talking about physical space. I'm talking about space between your thoughts, space around your thoughts. You know when you don't have space around your thoughts? Because you become constricted and focus so much on the thought that you believe that you are those thoughts. But when you become aware of the space around the thoughts, right, you can actually observe the thoughts and go, those thoughts are just happening. Then who's having those thoughts? They're actually not my thoughts. But anyway, don't want to take it too deep, but this, when I'm talking about space, I'm talking about your awareness. When your awareness of your feelings, is that my intuition or is that my feel? You need to think about it, right? The moment you need to think, is that my intuition? You've gone to a different part of your human psyche. You're now disconnected from your intuition. So even if your answer was yes or it's not, the intuition is no longer answering that, right? My ability to use my intuition is, it looks like this. I feel something, I act on it. If I feel something I feel love for, I act on it by saying yes. Action is not necessarily physical. The greatest action that you can take is saying yes to the feeling. Most people find it easier to take action on the physical because if they can take action on the physical, there's a common cause of why I'm taking this action. Well, because it's going to make me more money, because it's going to give me more fame, it's because I'm going to find the person I love, right? But to take action from the formless, which is from your energetically, you're saying yes to the feeling without knowing why you even want to do that. So, number one reason, too much noise. Number two reason is not enough space, not enough awareness. Guys, it's all right. I'm going to cover all this week. I'm just giving this to you right now so you know what I'm going to cover this week. I just can't cover all three today. I'm just going to give you those three so you know what we're working with. Right? Too much noise, not enough space. Right? The number three reason why people fail to use their intuition and fail to have the ability to follow their feeling is they don't trust themselves. Who do you not trust? Yourself. So therefore, you're not willing to back yourself. How can you follow your intuition? Which is coming from your, let's call it your greatest self. How can you follow a feeling if you don't believe in yourself? Again, guys, I just want to point these three things out, but we're going to cover this over the next few days, and I'm going to give you practical things to do, right? Because I want to make this a practical experience, the challenge, right? To support you in breaking these limitations. Okay? You notice my breath? What do you think that's all about? There's a clue there in staying connected to using your intuition. Okay? I'm not interested in talking what's going on here. I'm interested in talking what's swirling in here, in my heart. Right? So from time to time, if you've done any of my work, you know breath work is very, very important. It's a moment of just releasing anything, releasing what I need to do, where am I, what needs to be said, who I need to be, nothing. It just allows me to come back to the emptiness. What's the emptiness? Where your intuition is. How can you feel your intuition if you've got all these things that you need to do, all these things that you need to be, all these things that you need to accomplish? Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. Some people are like, well, I do have all these things that I need to do. I do have all these things that I need to accomplish. No doubt. But you're doing it on your own. You're not doing it with the intuition. You're not using the feeling, which is the infinite part of you, which is what puts you in a flow state, which is what makes it effortless. You're running on the fucking treadmill. You might still accomplish it, but you'll age 10 years. You'll age. So, I would like to now just briefly tell you the difference between an emotion, a feeling, and your intuition. I'll say that again in a particular order that I like to stick to actually. It's your emotion, your intuition, and the feeling, right? This is going to build your awareness around this, okay? So most people would only identify as the intuition. They go, well, this is my intuition. Well, what's everything else? What about all those other feelings that you have? You know, when you get upset or you get attached or you're in fear, right? What about all those? What are they? Right? That's what I call your emotions. Okay? Your emotions, quite simply, and we can talk more about this as the week goes on, but I'm just giving you this so I can use this vocabulary as I continue this course with you guys, as I continue this challenge, right? We're just putting everyone on the same page, right? Most people who've done my work understand these three words. So just right now, some of you are new, you want to become aware that an emotion is a reaction to your perceived circumstances. So in other words, an emotion is your reaction. I say perceived because everything is perceived through a lens, right? Your world is perceived through a lens. And Lisa here might have an orange lens, and Catherine might have a blue lens, and Priscilla might have a grey lens, and so on. But everyone's lens is different, so therefore your perception of your world is different. Okay? Which one's right? Well, according to your perception, you're right and the other person's wrong. Which one's the truth? This one. When you take the lenses off and you see it differently. You know, the third eye, okay? You see from a different place. Now, when I say the third eye, I'm not trying to be very spiritual, like I'm not trying to, lose any, like the third eye is seeing from a different place. Your view of your reality changes. It's a view of understanding. It's a view of consciousness. Your view is seeing consciously. That's all, right? We can talk about that in a much more deeper program, but your view changes. The people talk about there's the truth and the lie, and there's a lot of things going on right now in the world. There's what are these things? Jamie, you might help facilitate. What's everyone getting into? The conspiracies. I don't even need you, Jamie. Thanks. That's it. Conspiracies and this, and then there's a truth, and then there's a lie, and cool, I get it. And whatever you're into, I'm not here to challenge any conspiracies. But that's all here, right? Then there's the truth. The truth is what sets you free, as they say. Right? Sets you free from what? The truth and the lie of the story. Because every story has a truth and a lie. Every story has good and bad. Every story has a right and wrong. And it's all determined based on your perception. Your wrong is someone else's right. And you can never argue with them because they're seeing the world yellow, you're seeing the world blue, and you're like, the world is blue. And they're like, no, it's yellow. And then they go to war together. That's the world of perceiving through duality. Perceiving through oneness, right? You have to see from one eye. It's a different, again, I'm going deeper than I intended to, so I'm going to stop there, okay? But all I'm telling you right now is your emotions that you're having is a reaction to your perception of what is happening or what has happened. That's all. So I just want to be clear that I know there's some things that's happening and there's some things that's happened that you might want to talk about, and I will talk to you about that a bit later in the week, right? But at this stage, I just want you to understand that's not your intuition, right? Like my intuition says I should punch him in the head. I can feel it, Amir. I want to punch him in the head. Oh, is that what your intuition says? Yes, I can feel it. That's most likely your reaction. I'm being a little bit extreme, but but that's what happens in the world. And most people think I'm following my intuition. And my intuition says I should be really, really rich. Oh, really? Is that because you're feeling poor inside? Because being rich is something that happens. It's not something you aim for. Ooh. Being rich is a reflection of who you are. Most people are wealthy, but they're not rich. Or the other way around. I don't know. It depends on how you see those two words. Or you should probably say most people are rich, but they're not wealthy. Whatever. You get my point. Okay? So an emotion is a reaction to how you perceive to what is happening or to what has happened. That's all. Okay? Then you have your intuitive feeling. Right? Now, most people are aware of their intuition because they've used it somewhat here and there. They've learned different things from their intuition. They've learned from when they used it. They've learned from when they didn't use it. Okay, so your intuition, what I'd like to give to you, something that you probably not have become aware of or have not thought about, is your intuition has reference points of the known. Right? When I say the known, that means of the story, of form. It has reference points to what's happened in the past, right? Like, for example, I like to use this example because it's a good one. If you're walking down a dark alley, right? And as you walk deeper down this dark alley, it gets darker and gets narrower, right? Your intuition might go, you know what? It might not be a good idea for me to walk down this alley in a place that I'm not aware of, that I'm not familiar with. Maybe I should not walk down this alley. That's your intuition, right? But that understanding has come from, or that feeling, I should say, has come from your understanding and awareness of, hey, you shouldn't walk down a dark alley in an unfamiliar area that you're not, that you're by yourself with. Do you know what I mean? So that's your intuition, or your intuition becomes like your wisdom, right? I might be in a business, right, and I'm making business decisions, and I get this intuitive feeling. You know what? I don't really want to do this, right? But that could be because in the past, right, there was a reference point that something I did, something I learned in business, right, an ability, a skill. That, hey, if I do this, it could lead to failure. Again, I'm not talking about an emotional reaction, because for example, an emotional reaction would be you have a business opportunity that you want to do, right? You feel to do it, right? It's an intuition. You want to do the business opportunity, but then you think to yourself, no, I'm not going to do it because last time I failed. I've been in business before and I failed, and then you go, I feel intuitively not to do it. No, that's a reaction to what's happened. That's different. I'm talking about, you have a business opportunity, but something, and you feel to do the business opportunity, but how you do that business opportunity may change based on what's happened in the past. How you see it has changed. That's your intuition. So all I'm trying to give to you here is that your intuition is your gut feel. It's the feeling, but that feeling has presented itself because your past experience. Do you know what I mean? Right? So you go to cross the road. All right. When I go to cross the road, when I used to go to the US once a month, every time I went across the road, my intuition wouldn't work, right? Because I would always look to the left, but it's the opposite in America, right? So I'd be like, once I remember I was with Jamie. Jamie went to step out on the road. I grabbed him and actually saved his life. True story. Because he looked in the wrong direction and there was a truck coming. Remember that, Jamie? True story. But so do you understand? So it's not about the intuition being right or wrong. It's just it's based on your experience. It's based on what's happened to you in your life. Okay, so I need to reprogram my intuition when I'm in America to when I step onto the road, don't look to the left. Before you step onto the road, look to the right. Okay, so it becomes a new pattern. All I'm saying to you is that if you look at your intuitive feelings, right, it's tied down to a reference point. And that's what I call the known. Right? The known is something that's happened. It's something that you've experienced. It's something that's become part of who you are. That's the known, right? The feeling, and again, I'm going to open up for questions in a moment, right? The feeling is completely from the unknown. The feeling is the part of you that is, look, to be honest, it's not something that I use every single day. I'm using my intuition every single day, but then sometimes I have a feeling, I'm going to settle down. I'm going to settle down. I'm done with, I'm going to settle down and have a relationship, right? Now, here's the thing about the feeling and the difference between the feeling and the intuition. The intuition comes from the known. The feeling comes 100% from the unknown. Now, the challenge here is you will never find the reason of why you should follow the feeling because it comes from the unknown. What's the unknown? Guys, infinite energy. Infinity is the unknown. Right? Now, most people think, no, infinity is the known because everything's possible. Yes, but when everything is possible, now it becomes the unknown because all is possible. When I ask people, when I do my signatory program, the Wisdom, Truth, and Freedom experience, the WTF experience, when I run that program and I say to people, I talk a lot about infinity. And I say, what's infinity? They say, infinity is all things possible. Right? Yes, all things are possible, but that's the unknown. It takes a little massaging with that, pondering, reflecting, to be able to understand or let that drop in, which we'll talk about later in the week. Okay, the pondering, but the feeling, okay, is the purest, most powerful thing that you could experience in life. I call that the real love. All right. Why do I call the real love? Are you saying the other love is not real? Well, the other love that you perceive or experience mostly in your life is the pursuit of attaining love. Right? You're doing something because you love this person, but you're doing it in order for them to love you back. You're doing something, that you love to do, but you're doing that in order for you to feel that love back. Like you're doing something in the pursuit of attaining love. Nothing wrong with that, and I'm not going to go into that right now. It's a different program, right? That's the role of the ego. Not an issue. Let's just there's so many things I can keep going on. This program will be 6 months, but the real love has no reason because it's come from the nothingness. You cannot then go, this is why I feel this. It's only once you say yes to the feeling and you move on and time elapses, you may reflect back and go, oh, that's why I followed that feeling. Again, I've started businesses. I've started a whole brand new career because of the feeling. I was one day speaking on stage in Los Angeles, and as I was getting up on stage, I had this moment right there, very clear. The feeling presented itself, and I said, and it basically, if I could put it into words, it was, I'm not going to be speaking anymore. Now, please understand, it's not that I didn't enjoy the speaking. I loved it. It's not that it wasn't profitable. It's not that it wasn't that, I was flying around the world in the front of the plane and the back of the car, if you know what I mean. Right? It's not like it wasn't working. It's not like I wasn't successful. It's just this feeling was there and I was like, I'm done. And that was the very last talk I did. I got off stage and that was the very last WTF, I should say. I did. And then within 9 months later, everything was wound back and I stopped speaking. Then there was a feeling, right, to start flying. I started a whole new career. I'm just following it. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I don't just feel to go start flying and go. Like, I love flying. It was something that I loved as a kid. It was just like, I'm gonna become a pilot. This is 7 years ago. I'm well established in my career of speaking, right? And then I'm following the feeling. I give up the speaking, go and become a pilot, get my commercial pilot license, buy my own aviation business, and now today I do both. Because after 7 years, the feeling brought me back to the speaking, and that's why you find me where I am today, sharing what I'm sharing. Now I do flying just for the fun, just maybe on the weekends. But I still run an aviation business. I'm how old am I? 41. So 7 years ago, I was like 35, 34, whatever, right? To then stop right in the middle of that and go, I'm going to become a pilot. And then go and become a pilot. Like, you got to understand, right? What I'm trying to get you to realize is the feeling is usually, from my experience, it presents itself on the big life change things. And you know what? I want to move to this country. You know what? I'm gonna start speaking. You want to hear that story? The first time I felt to start speaking, I was not a speaker. My background, I used to work in the personal development industries. I used to be the man behind the speakers. I used to be a promoter, the man behind the stage. I used to take speakers all around the world. Some of the speakers you probably heard of. You will have heard of, for sure, right? And then one day, I sold that business and I just felt to start speaking. And the name of a program even came to me. And the name was called The Quest for Truth. And I wrote down The Quest for Truth. Now, please understand, I had no speaking abilities. I had no speaking training. I have not studied content. All I've done all my entire life is just follow my intuition. And right now I am feeling to start speaking. So therefore I'm gonna start doing that. I write down the name of the program. It was called The Quest for Truth, and a book like this sitting on my table, and I went to write the program. And besides the name, absolutely nothing came to me. And I thought to myself, this is strange. Because when I follow the feeling, things come to me. And I went for a coffee, came back, left it, went for a shower, came back the next day. I came back to an empty page that just had this, The Quest for Truth experience, the name of the program, nothing else. And then I said to myself, and this is something that I'll teach you guys, you pose the question. I posed the question, right? But when you pose a question, you never look for the answer from the place you asked the question from. Why? Because you're posing the question intellectually, your left brain, right? You go, why did I feel to do this speaking? Why did I feel to write this program if nothing has come to me? But if you look for the answer from the place you asked the question from, you're just going to get jibber jabber internal dialogue. Oh, I'm not good enough. That's not it. Okay? Why would you not look for the answer from the place you asked the question from? Because the place you asked the question from doesn't know the answer. That's why you pose the question. So what I do when I pose questions, this is one of the hacks, if you like, in using your intuition, is you pose a question, but you must let go in trying to find the answer. Let go of the answer. It might not come to you straight away. It might come to you, you're in the shower. You're on the bathroom, I don't care. Like, it's just when your mind is just relaxing, right? There's nowhere to be, nothing to do, nothing to accomplish. Bang, it presents itself and you're like, oh. So you know what happened to me? I posed the question. I said, why would I feel so strongly to become a speaker? I'm not a speaker. I wasn't a speaker. But to become a speaker, to be able to share this message, and the name of the program, The Quest for Truth. And then nothing come to me. Sometimes you hear a voice, but you don't hear it with these ears. Sometimes you see, but you don't see with these eyes. Right? Well, And sometimes you just have a gut feel. They're the three ways that I've noticed that you ability to use intuition. For me, it was a voice this time. It said, "It will come to you." The content, the program I'm talking about, it will come to you when you get up on stage. Oh, this wasn't the most difficult thing for me to ever accomplish when it comes to following the feeling. You mean I'll get up on stage and it will come to me? Like, I mean, it's not a conversation I had. It was just clean, sweet, short, sweet. It was just like, it will come to you when you get up on stage. And I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to get up on stage, borrow my friend's boardroom. This is how I did it. I won't lie. I was I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. All right? I basically invited 10 people that I really didn't know to come and do this program called The Quest for Truth. I borrowed my friend's boardroom in North Sydney. All right. Funnily enough, it's the same friend that I told you about when I went to his wedding, and I trusted myself back then, but not 100%. Not 100%. So what I did is I asked a friend of mine who was an NLP speaker, and that was his profession. He was a speaker, and I asked him, "Hey, I'm doing this program. Do you mind coming there? Because I'm just gonna do it how I feel in the moment." And he was like, "You're not gonna plan for it?" And I said, "No." He goes, "But what are you gonna talk about?" I'm like, "That's the thing. I don't know." "No, you got to plan. You got to prep." And I'm like, "No. Can you do me a favor? Can you just come there, right? And I'll present you as part of the program. And if I struggle, come in and back me up and say something about NLP." He's like, "Yeah, sure," right? So I started that morning with, "Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Quest for Truth experience." I don't remember anything else. It just kept coming out. There was one thing I do remember. The message, the content, the feeling. I mean, I just was in this flow. And this was a whole one-day program. 9 a.m. start, 5 p.m. finish with lunch break and morning tea breaks, right? The content, the message, the feel, I just kept coming out. I was in this flow state that I'm talking about. And I'm just talking about stuff. All I remember is this one moment where my friend, he got so inspired about what I was saying. He came in and went, "Yeah, and did it," and he joined in. And I looked at him and said, "Patrick, I got this. Sit back down." That's the one moment I remember. But I'm glad I recorded it. I then had all these flip chart papers that I was scribbling on, and I went back, and from that one day I wrote a book called The Greatest Kept Truth, and I had a program called The Quest for Truth experience, which you would now know it as the WTF experience. This is true stories, guys. I'm not lying. I'm not making it up. I'm not exaggerating. It's exactly how it happened. From there, I knew I had this ability to do it, and I just continued to talk. At first, for 2 or 3 years, all I did was present the Quest for Truth, which became the WTF experience. That's all I did. That was it. And I told people, that's all you need. That's all you need. But it was my realization that people needed more. We need to break this down. We need to have conversation. We need to have retreats. We need to have coaching programs. I didn't design retreats or coaching programs because I was going to design a business out of it. I designed retreats and coaching programs because people were asking for it. Again, I'm just following the feeling. These are all true stories. Whether it's moving into a new house, moving into everything is following a feeling. Without the feeling, I could have continued speaking when the feeling was no longer there to continue to speaking. You know what would have happened? I would have continued to make money, most probably. I would have continued to travel around the world in the front of the plane and the back of the car. But inside of me, there would have been a part of me that would have started to slowly die. Why? Because the feeling is not there. The feeling said stop. But I could argue with the feeling and go, why the fuck should I stop? Look, all this is happening. But you got to understand, all this is happening because you followed the feeling. So if you stop following the feeling, even if all that continues to happen, you're empty inside. And that is what I'm not willing to do, because I've done that for many, many years. And that's what this program is not about. This program is not about not following it. It's about following the feeling. Because you know what happens when you don't follow the feeling. Like, I'm assuming you know. You know, you work your ass off, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You think this is the next thing, and it's not. Then you keep going, and you go, like, it's like the treadmill becomes faster and faster and faster and faster the more you age. And you're working harder and harder and harder, and then one day you realize, holy shit, I can't get off the treadmill. Why? Because I can't stop. What happens if you stop running on the treadmill when it's going that fast? Have you seen those videos? They fall off, boom, boom, and they do somersaults backwards. Those funny videos. That's what life becomes like. So I'm not here to talk about that. I'm assuming you guys know what it's like to not follow the feeling. So I'm not going there. Everything I'm talking to you about is following the feeling. So following the feeling, right, is those, it's not, for me, it's not every day. Every day is intuition. But following the feeling, it's just when it comes, oh, you better be ready. You better be ready to act on it, right? But it's the most difficult thing. Why? Because people are looking for reason of why am I following the feeling? And what did I tell you about following the feeling is? It comes from the unknown, therefore it has zero, nil, nada, zilch reasons. So if you look for reason, you'll find zero, nil, nada, zilch reasons. And sometimes you may make up a reason. Oh, well, it's going to make money. Oh, this is what I meant to do, right? Because I always wanted to move into this country, right? The moment you make up a reason, what you perceive of why you follow the feeling, you are no longer following the feeling, you are following a reason that you made up, and that is called a fabricated feeling. You made that shit up. The feeling was real, don't get me wrong. But if you begin to follow the reason of why you follow the feeling, that's not the feeling anymore. That's what I call the fabricated feeling. Who fabricated it? You did. Because you don't have the willingness, the ability to follow feeling without reason. But love has no reasons. It's the greatest power you have. Okay? You're pretty clear why most people can't follow that feeling. Okay? Don't worry. All right? We're going to talk about that. That's part of my top 3 reasons why people fail to use their intuition and follow their feeling. We're going to talk about that. But at this point, I just wanted you guys to become clear about what an emotion is, what an intuition is, and what the feeling is. Okay? Now, I know this is a lot to take on, so you're going to probably go away and kind of reflect on this, right? But tomorrow, I'm going to teach you how to go and ponder on this. Pondering is using your intuition to realize, like all I've done right now is drop the seed. Where did I drop the seed in? In the mind. You dropped the seed in my mind? Who told you to do that? Well, your mind, my mind, same mind. It's easy, right? The seed is there. Tomorrow, I will teach you how to nourish, water, and give light to that seed and make it grow so you have your own direct experience. Because this can't be true because I said so. This has got to be true because you felt it. Because you ultimately have a direct experience of what you feel today. Okay? So, wow, oh my God, time disappears. It's been 20. Okay, guys, we need to wrap that up, right? Because I just want to honor everyone who's been here for the last 60 minutes. And that's been 60 minutes. It's been 59 minutes exactly. Time disappears. Isn't that what they say when you're having fun? When you're doing what you love, doesn't time disappear? Yes, because love, the real love, is freaking timeless. It's timeless. And that's why you age less. You know, I'm actually 65. No, I'm kidding. I'm 41. But it's true. You actually start to, when you're doing, you get my point. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay? So at this point, what we've covered is the 3 reasons why people fail. We've covered, and again, I'm going to break those 3 reasons, all right? And we're going to cover each reason over the next few days, all right? So make sure you listen to every call, all right? And make sure you're live on every call, because I'm going to cover how do you quieten the noise? How do you make more space? Okay? When you don't have space, what do you have? Baggage. You know baggage? Emotional baggage? That's where that comes from. So I'm going to talk about how to release emotional baggage. And ultimately, by Friday, I'm going to talk to you about I'm going to give you a proven by my proven, right? It wasn't scientifically proven, but for me, I practice this, I've teach this, and if you can do it, this will definitely help you trust yourself. Make decisions to trust yourself. So by Friday, I will tell you, how do you trust yourself? Okay? So at this stage, I would like to open up and just hear from you guys, where you're from, why you're on this call, what do you got from it today? This is a part where my facilitators usually run, and Jamie's here. He's one of the facilitators, so he's actually much better at running this part. But here, I'll have a good crack of it intuitively. So guys, how was that for you? Is that how we start, Jamie? No, I'd love to hear from you guys. Where you from? Especially someone who's new. I'd love to know where you are. Chloe, I know there's Chloe. Are you back in Australia? You are. Well, welcome back. So there's a familiar face. But yeah, guys, I'd love to hear from you. Just unmute yourself whenever you're ready to share, and love to hear just where you're from and questions, of course. Don't be shy.
Good evening.
Hi, Mary.
How are you?
Good, Mary. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri in the United States, so it was 5:30 when I got on the call.
5:30 in the
So
afternoon?
so Sunday night here.
Oh, Sunday night. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome on a Sunday night. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the presentation. I know for me, I had an experience of being in that feeling when I met my husband and married him 7 weeks later.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. And can I also add, okay?
yes.
People hear that kind of story, right? And sometimes they think to themselves, I know people who've met someone and 6 weeks later they married them and 3 months later they divorced them, right? So
Right.
right? But that's the thing. The difference between what your experience and the other, where someone's divorced them, is that feeling wasn't real, right?
Right.
It's a perception, and the perception might be, well, I've heard stories of someone who's fallen in love before, right? And they got married, so we're going to get married, right? So I just wanted to show people the opposite, and the opposite is when you woo woo this, right? And
Right.
it becomes woo woo. It's the feeling. It's the feeling is going to be very real, and the only way you learn what the feeling is and what it isn't is by following the feeling, experiencing what you're experiencing, Mary, but also someone following the feeling that they fabricated and experiencing falling over and realizing that wasn't the feeling. Okay?
Right.
More is lost in indecision than the wrong decision, guys. That's the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle that I experience when I'm teaching people how to use their intuition is they go into no man's land by making no decision, because they're like, I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to make the wrong decision here. All right? So they make no decision. More is lost in indecision than the wrong decision. Make a decision, right? And you'll learn from it. So thanks for sharing that, Mary. Appreciate it. And good on you for being here on a Sunday afternoon. All right, anyone else?
I'll share something.
Joyce, how are you? Are you still in
Hello.
California?
Yes, I am.
Oh, very
It's,
good.
It was 3:30.
3:30, okay.
Not bad, not the middle of the night.
Okay,
No extra credit.
no worries.
I wanted to share a reflection. Times in my life that came to me when you were talking about following the feeling, big thing. and how terrifying it was
Mm.
to do it. And I think one of the things you said was the third reason was lack of trust.
Yeah.
And I think that was what made it so terrifying.
Yeah.
I felt the feeling, I followed the feeling, I did it anyway, but I was so terrified.
Yeah.
And I think there was quite a bit of just anxiety, not knowing how it was going to turn out. Am I going to be okay, and all of that.
Yeah.
So maybe you can comment on. It's not necessarily the easy path. Yeah.
Well, it's actually is easy, right? It's when you don't follow it, it's not the easy path actually, because when you don't follow the feeling, when you're not following the feeling, you're doing it on your own, right? Then what happens? Your experience becomes effortful, right? But what it is, people say it's easier because they're familiar. So they're familiar with their limitation. They're familiar with their pain, and then they go, well, it's easier, right? But it's not. It's more difficult to carry the baggage. It's more difficult to not follow the feeling than to follow the feeling. Because when you follow the feeling, it becomes effortless. But you need a special skill, a special hack, Joyce. This is what I call finding certainty in the uncertain, right? And your ability to trust yourself, the biggest, and again, I was going to talk about this on Friday, but I'll just give you one thing. The biggest thing that's going to help you have the ability to trust yourself is by expanding your awareness of who you are. That's what I call self-realization or self-actualization. It is the work that you're doing on yourself to know yourself, not to fix, improve, or change yourself, right? That's different, right? That's self-development. I'm talking about self-actualization. Most people confuse the two as one, right? That expands your awareness. It expands your space, right? That is the biggest thing that's going to help you to trust yourself, because the self is no longer this, little Joyce. It's the self is actually big Joyce, So that's the work that I do. That's what I do with people. I help them self-realize. But in this work, in this week, I should say, this challenge, you might have a little bit of self-realization. You might have already had some, but we're working on the surface here in this week. So by the surface, I mean we're going to do practical things which are very, very effective for people to have the most immediate response, immediate results, if you like. But the results that are eternal is all to do with who's the self. Okay, so good share. Thank you, Joyce. Thanks for being on the calls again. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Bonnie. I'm from Toronto, but at the moment I'm living and working in Germany.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
Sorry?
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Sole noma varak.
Oh, merci. I thought you might have some Persian background.
I am 100% Iranian, born in Tehran.
Oh, really?
And
I am too. I was born in Iran, but I was raised in Canada.
Oh, awesome! So it was just our New Year's, a Persian New Year. So
happy Persian New Year.
Yeah. So I just wished her a happy New Year.
I discovered you on Instagram actually, and I've been really inspired by your content and also your podcasts. And I've listened to the feeling and followed my intuition 2 big times in my life, but I want to really fine-tune this skill so I can always do it for the rest of my life. Yeah,
that's fantastic. And that's the thing, when I'm talking what I'm talking about, you guys have had some reference in your life, and that's why you've had that reference, because somewhere in your life you knew you're going to get to this point and you go, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about is not garbage, because I remember I had those 2 times. But the ability to use that skill, or to sharpen it, if you like, it's just like a muscle. The more you use it, the more defined it becomes. That's what we're doing here. We want you to be able to use that at will. Yes. And look, I won't lie, it's going to take a lot of practice. But if you don't start now, when will you?
Right. Yeah.
So you said you're in Toronto now, or you were?
No, I'm in Hamburg at the moment in Germany.
Germany,
I've been
okay.
living in Spain and Germany the past almost 6 years now,
Yeah.
working and living and traveling
So
and studying.
is your family in Toronto?
Yes, everyone.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I was raised there, but I followed my intuition and moved to Spain,
Yeah.
and here I am.
Right. And what do you do there?
I'm a scientific coordinator at a scientific institute here.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So you're not an
Yeah.
engineer or a doctor like all the Persians?
No, no, no. My parents wanted me to be, but no, not for me.
Oh, we have an amazing culture. Bunny,
Yeah.
so good to meet you. Thanks for sharing that, and look forward to continuing to
You
connect with
too.
you. Yeah, excellent.
Great.
Thanks, merci. Okay, guys. Anyone else? So anyway, thanks. Sorry for going 15 minutes over. I'm intending for the session tomorrow to have more conversations. I just wanted to get that out today so we're all on the same page. But tomorrow I'm going to be talking about the art of pondering, which is one of the things that you'll be able to use in, like when I talked to you about posing the question and not looking for the answer from the same place. That's pondering right there. Again, I won't go into it right now. I know we're out of time. So I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, and also talk about what causes failure in your pondering. Okay, so one of the failure points I'll cover tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you being on the call today, and we're going to do this again tomorrow. Same time, same place. Tomorrow, every day. Push yourself, get yourself there on the live calls. That's mostly effective. And if you're listening to the recording, please make sure you listen to it every day. Otherwise, once you fall behind, it just gets too hard. All right, guys, have a great day.